the more that I give, the more that I am blessed by it personally, but then like seeing how that helps others is so awesome.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hey everybody, welcome back. This week, Andy Mulder's back on. And last week, if you didn't catch it, we talked about how do you run an outdoor living business debt-free and how does it change your sales game when you're not going out thinking I have to sell this project without all these bills to pay. But when you're debt-free and you don't have those long-term debts, you have your basic debts, of course, your expenses to run a company, but you don't have all those others that tend to really weigh you down and stress you out. This week, we're going to focus on surprising ways a debt-free business transforms your team. So with the shift of not having that debt every month of paying the trucks off and the equipment and the skid steer and the excavator, all that stuff, if you own those things outright, how does running your team and how does building your team change? Or does it not change? That's why I want to have Andy on here. So Andy, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So some of the takeaways from today, things that I want to get to during our conversation here is how running your business debt-free impacts your team. So how does that impact? Does it impact? Maybe it doesn't. How does how does it set you up as a leader to run that team without the weight of all that debt that you have to pay all the time down? And also, how is hiring different? So Andy, I'd love for you to jump in. So how does it help you run your team and impacts the way that you manage and lead your team?
Yeah, those are really good questions, and I can't say that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. I mean, there's things that I don't know. I don't know if everybody's ever asked me that actually, but I will say that like once I started like sharing stuff about this, it's not like I have sit there and I proclaim from the rooftops to our team that we run the business debt free. They know that we run the business debt free. I've talked about it. I share that a little bit more now when we hire, more than I used to, because it's one of our it's a core thing to our business, right? This is how we run the business. So sharing that, I think, helps in the hiring process, but I think more so it allows me to make decisions and listen to the team more in a way that like, okay, if they say, hey, Andy, like, I think we did this 2 years ago, actually, with a machine, on the maintenance side. I keep going back to the maintenance. Maintenance is like 10% of our business, 15%, I guess, from a revenue standpoint. But my maintenance manager came to me and said, hey, I think like we could do something like this with this machine. Do you think we could look into that? And immediately I'm always like very open to those types of things because number one, I love equipment. I just do. I always have, I always will. Mm-hmm. I just love it. Right. But he came to me with this idea and it costs a lot of money to do this, but I didn't immediately think of the money piece of it because I knew that like, it's probably possible we could do something like that. Like, let's look at it. And so I think what it's done for me is allowed me to respond to some of these things that the team brings to me. Number one, I'm thrilled when a team member thinks enough to think of an idea that would better the company, right? Maybe it will better their job. Maybe we'll be more profitable. Maybe it's just a comfort thing that, I think this would be nice for us to have. Like, I'm open to all that kind of stuff because I've been an employee before. I've worked for a landscape company for 13 years. And I think that gave me perspective on the employee side of it than becoming a business owner because I understand where they're coming from on different things. And I will say, like, where I used to work, like he did a pretty good job of that. He was a great employer. I can't say anything bad about it. He was very nice. He was calm. And I've thought year over year, I've thought back on different instances of like when I broke something or how I reacted to a situation or whatever. And I think back of how he would react when I literally totaled trucks before or whatever. Anyways, I kind of going off topic, but I think like it's allowed me to think and listen to the team, not from a financial standpoint anymore, because, um, like, yes, we have to be able to afford to pay for it, but as we've grown now, we have an equipment fund and we have these things. And so if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I think a move like this could be good," I care more about like why and how, not and what, not so much how much, if that makes sense, right?
It does, yeah.
Um, and so I think that's important. I think from a pay standpoint and compensation standpoint, I think that we've been able to like I really have this strong desire to like change the mentality in the industry where like you can only make a living if you own the company working for a landscape company. I really want to change that and we're really pushing hard to do that. I think if you don't get on that train, you won't be able to find anybody because you need to pay better wages in this industry. And that comes with raising your prices and managing your money well and knowing how much to charge to be able to pay that amount of money. That's a whole nother topic. But like by being debt free obviously you have to be charging the right amount of money for this work. Like it all kind of works together. But then it's allowed me to bless the team in ways, that I don't know if everybody does. I know that like, especially during this time of the year. I mean, literally this afternoon, we're getting ready to have our Christmas party uh, and I'll be giving away a bunch of stuff. We put together some really cool gifts for the guys and it's just so fun for me to be able to bless them in that way. We don't have like a structured bonus. We don't have like a formal bonus structure. Nothing is based on how the company does, so to speak. It's all discretionary from on my side of it.
Mhm.
And there may be years when we can't be as generous as what we're being, but I really believe like we can be really generous because of how we run the company. Um, and more like every year I try and like do something more and a little bit more and a little bit more because they I want them to be able to reap the benefits of how we've chosen to run the company as well too, right? So if we were going into December and I going into this time of the year and I had the next 4 months of payments knowing that they were coming, like I like to plan financially. So like um I would have to have all that money saved, and then you have to be like, "Okay, well, what's left? How much can I okay, well, there's only this amount of money, so this is what we're gonna bonus the guys." I'm like, it's not like that to me. I don't think about like, I just I think it allows me to have a more open thought process on giving to them and blessing them and, thanking them for their work through the year, and then also, like, continuing to increase wages, like, all of these different things, like, it all I guess I don't know, like, how it would be different because I've always done it this way. I don't know, like, it's a really good question, and maybe that's a question for somebody that works for me is have they noticed a difference, I guess? I
That
don't
would be
know,
a
but,
good
like,
angle.
I
Yeah.
even think, like, when stuff breaks, like, it's just stuff, like, I I've I don't know, as a whole, I think when you're able to teach yourself and I really think, like, you need to teach yourself to be generous. I don't think as a society we're a generous society. I think you have to it's like a muscle. You have to, like, work. And the more generous that I am, the more generous that I feel like I become, the way that stuff, right? It's just stuff. Stuff breaks. It's gonna get damaged. I've I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just like if somebody wants to borrow something that works for me, if they want to borrow whatever it is, like go use it. I don't care. Like it's just stuff to me. It's replaceable. I'm not gonna take it with me. Um, and so like I think that as a lifestyle and a way that I view the stuff of this world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it's not mine in the first place. God's blessed us with everything that we have here. Um, it's wonderful, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying the things of this world. I don't think that is the case, but I think it's important to remember that it's not mine. None of this stuff is mine. My money is not mine. My house is not mine. My business is not mine. These are things that God has blessed me with. And so when you change the way that you're thinking with those things, that comes off then to your team. Um, and, and like, so when things happen, like are you okay? Number one should be the first question, right? I don't care about the truck or the saw or whatever. Like,
Yep.
who cares? Like, I
Yep.
don't care because number one, it's all replaceable and we can afford to fix it and change it and whatever has to happen. Um, are you okay? Did you get hurt? Whatever. Like, life goes on. This is just landscaping. Like, this is not life and death. Like, I think all of that comes off in our culture of our business. I hope it comes off. I think it does. Um, I and I try the m the more that I think back and start realizing some of these things and these byproducts of running your company debt-free, the more I share that when we are hiring, if that makes sense. So in the past years, I really haven't thought twice about it. It's like, "Well, this is how we run our company, and do you wanna come and work here?" I'm not saying it's that easy, but you know what I'm saying. But now it's like, "Hey, like, this is why we're different." It's probably not something that your typical company would share with you or tell you, but these are things that we care about and values of the company and how you're gonna and all of that will go into how you're treated as a team member here, and I don't know. Does all that make sense? Again, I've
100%.
never been asked that, and so I'm kind of like
Yeah.
packing it in my head.
No,
So,
I love it. I love seeing it in real time. That's why I'm just like, hey, give him some space
I
here.
don't
Let him
really
unpack it.
prepare for podcasts. I do a live podcast every week, and
Yeah.
I knew what we were gonna talk about, but I didn't sit down and write anything down, so I
Yeah. That's great. Exactly. And just like when we talked about in the last episode about when you show up with a, not a, a needy, um, physiology to a sales meeting, when you show up, knowing that you have to sell this project to pay the bills or whatever it might be, when you don't have that and you show up because you want to serve, your clients feel that. And I can imagine that that correlates directly into the way your team feels when you're like, hey, we're not sitting here working all day so we can pay for all this equipment. Like, our boss is smart. He has, like, I'm sure there's respect there. I'm just, hypothesizing here, but I imagine they look and say, wow, okay, he runs a business the way I would love to live. He's modeling this for us. We only buy things that we can afford. My job is secure that way, that he hasn't taken and leveraged this business heavily so that he could have a lifestyle or the big house or the fancy boat or whatever. And that you're giving back, to your point about being gracious with your giving. That's what God calls us to do, is to serve and to give and to be grateful for everything we have and not try to take control of it all, but know that these are just things, and these
Yep.
are things of the earth and they aren't of him. So these are just tools that we move through life being able to use and have the blessing to be able to use it. So when you start looking at your team, it's like, they have a lot of choices. They choose to spend and invest their most precious asset, Andy. That's their time. They choose to do that in your business.
Yeah.
So I believe as leaders, we are called to be able to make sure that that was a good investment for them, right? Through education, through constantly helping them grow and develop, not just for betterness of your company, but betterness in the world, in their lives. How can we be not just builders of amazing backyards, but builders of incredible people? How can we do that? That's a bigger question, right? And if you don't have all this debt, you can ask that question more freely, because you're like, hey, we've done really well this year. And we didn't do really well because I'm the guy, I'm king shit here and did a great job. No, we did a great job because of that team, because without that team, we
Right.
wouldn't have a business. And
That's
when
right.
we turn the focus back to them and we show the appreciation, because they want to make sure that they're felt, that they're seen, that they're heard. That's important for people on your team. And if
Yep.
you're just up there on top of your throne, throwing your spear around or your sword around, telling everybody what to do because you want to be the king, I'm telling you, that's why you can't keep employees.
Yep.
That's why
Yeah.
nobody wants to stick around. Nobody wants to work for a tyrant. What they want is somebody who understands, who sees the work they're putting in, who acknowledges it, and is grateful for it. That's what they want.
100%. That's exactly true. I think another thing too that uh, that I try and find ways to be a blessing to the guys to the team and anybody that works on the team, because you just like anybody that works for anybody that works for you, whoever's listening, like they're a person. They have problems. They have health things. They have family things, whatever. And I have found like there's ways. It's not always financial that is what somebody needs or wants from their business. It's not always that. Sometimes it's like, hey, like my wife is pregnant and I want to go to every doctor's appointment. Go. Like, and how are, I understand like maybe that you can still do that without running your company debt free. But this is just as a whole as far as treating your team. But like having that generous mindset and that, like treating your team like they're actual humans. I have found great success and, I don't know, not success, but like just really good feedback or like, people that will really take an ownership mindset when you treat them like that, right? Like, and I don't do it to get that back. I do it because I want to bless them because we can bless them, right? Whether that be an unexpected paid week off when they need something, maybe they have to be in the hospital with their wife. I don't know, or their husband or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't those kinds of things when you have margin in your business and margin in your life to be able to bless somebody that works for you, you cannot imagine how far that's going to go for them and
Huge,
for
huge.
their loyalty to your company. That's the word I was trying to find for loyalty. And you don't do it to get, I don't do it to get, I do it to give. But because of that, those are the types of things that ends up coming back to you. And that goes for any type of giving. Like you don't give to get, but I'm telling you, the more I give, I get more out of giving, not physically, but like it's just, man, I can't express it enough. Like you don't know until you try, and it doesn't have to be big. You can start small. I have done free lunch Friday, we've called it, since the day we started the company. My maintenance manager Zach has worked for me I hired him day one. And from day one, we've done free lunch Friday. Every Friday for 10 years, I bought lunch for everybody that works for me every year, every single Friday. If I'm not here, they buy it and send me the receipt and I pay them back, or I leave cash for them or whatever I do. But it seems like, sometimes be like, I'm not going to be there. I forgot to give you money. Like, whatever, guys. No, like they want that and they value it more than than you think. And it's so simple. In the beginning, I didn't have tons of money to be able to give paid weeks off because I didn't have the ability to do that. But now, like that's something small. Okay, one person at that time it was $10 to buy lunch or whatever. Now it's like, it's $150 if you want three guys to go out to lunch.
That goes quick.
Whatever. Like
Yeah.
it is a small amount of money, but they value that. But then as we've grown and as we've been able to keep running the business that way, be more profitable, bless the team more, save more money, have more reserves. Now we can do things like bless someone with a week off or pay them when they're in the hospital with somebody in their family. And that I don't have that in my employee handbook. I don't need to put that stuff in there because I don't need them to come and work here for me because of what they're going to get from me, right? Like not get, but I just I like to just do it because it feels good and because I can, right? And that's not like you could look at it and be like, well, if it's not on paper, they might not think that you're actually going to do that. Well, this is just the person that I am. If you don't trust me, I'll give to you more than you think I will because I just love to do it. Like I just love it. So like, there's was a specific situation that happened this year with one of my team members, and I blessed them with some extra time off and extra pay. And I didn't have to do it based on the handbook or based on their work compensation plan. I didn't have to do any of that. But it was like they were going through some hard stuff, and I could be there for them. And I believe because of that, I probably have gained a lifelong employee because I believe it like was life changing for them. And it was something that we could do as a company, and people go through stuff, and I care about these people that work here, and um and if they want to take and then decide that, whatever, I don't want to work here anymore because the grass is greener, that's fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep. I'm never going to regret giving, ever. You're never going to regret it. And so if you can't set your company up in a way that allows you to be a blessing and give in ways that aren't necessarily tied to the work that they've done for you over those amount of hours, right? That's like that's to me that's the side piece of how you can bless your team. Like I don't know. It's the more that I give, the more that I am blessed by it personally, but then like seeing how that helps others is so awesome. And if you can't create margin in your life and your business, you can't do that stuff.
That's right.
So, you know, I don't know. And so by running our company debt free, now 10 years into it, we can do stuff that I didn't dream we'd be able to do for our team.
Yeah.
Um,
And there's nothing
and
better.
again,
I love that. I love your heart too, brother. I love that.
yeah, I mean,
That's in you. It's
you're
so powerful.
never gonna regret it. I never want someone to leave our company because of a money issue. That is something that I did struggle with at my old company. Is I could not live on what we were making, and I needed to make more money. That was 50 to 70% of the reason maybe we started, because I needed to make more money to live, and that's fine. But so now, I always had to go and ask for a raise. I always had to go and push for more. And I never want someone to have to come to me and ask, because it's too late at that point. Because it took me 6 months to muster up the energy to go ask
Oh,
for a raise because I was so freaking nervous.
yes, 100%,
Right.
dude.
So
Why put your people through that? Why
right.
put them
And
through that?
right. So it's just, I don't want, and I've said this to my wife on when we've talked about different things. Again, she's a sounding board to all these different things that we've done. And it's always comes back to I don't want someone to leave this company and I know it was because of money or because I didn't want to give more. But I'm also not dumb where I can't see through the crap that somebody's going to come, you know what I mean? If you're just coming to me for more and more and more, you got to perform, you have to do the work. You can't be a doormat. You got to show up on time. That stuff is all on the back. Don't mishear me in that. But you have, if you can do more for your team and give more, if you manage your finances better, and I think all of the way that we've chosen our company, have chosen to run our company this way, it all comes back. It all trickles into everything. Everything. How I treat my vendors, how I treat my employees, how I treat my customers, everything.
Yep. And it's so profound. And I hope the listeners are really picking up on this, the giving part. Because like you said, you're never going to be upset about giving.
No,
Unless your expectation was to get. If you're giving
correct.
for the pure joy of giving, what lands on the person given the item or the thing is on them. You gave, your part is complete. You've done your part. Now, so the question is, how are you developing your people and your team? Are you making sure that they have all the education that they need? I've always had this as part of my hiring package, is to know that they have a stipend every year for personal development. I went through all of Tony Robbins' programs. I continually grow. For the last 10 years has been nonstop personal growth, because my philosophy is your company will never grow faster than you are. Right. And if you're not growing spiritually and mentally and physically, if you're not growing like that, your company is going to stop growing. It can't grow faster than you are as the leader. Right. So with that, having a stipend in there, be like, you know what, you guys, if you find something that maybe it's not the journey that I was on, maybe if you find something that you want to go to that'll help you grow, not the business, you personally, because when you personally grow, the business does too. That's an automatic side effect, which is amazing. Right. But so are you doing that? And then also, if you're giving to your employees, do you have the option? Do they have the option to give in a bigger way to a charity? We instituted that after I've gone through a bunch of these personal development. Was, hey, you know what? We're going to put away X amount of dollars each year, and we're all, not just me, all of us get a chance to decide who we want to give that. How can our giving impact even more than just our business? So each year we look at it as a team and say, hey, we got, let's say $10,000, $20,000 that we want to give away. All right, we're going to allocate that to each person. And then what's on your heart that you want to see improve and grow? Who needs the money in order to grow and to help and serve more? We have very few rules in that. One of the rules is that we'd like to, as much as possible, to impact the local community. So, and we'd love for each of those dollars to go directly to the end user and not have it be some part of a corporate fund, if you will. So,
Yeah.
but those are some of the things that we've discussed as a team and we all agree are good choices. And then each year they look for a charity or an organization or something. And I got to tell you, Andy, that people that in the organizations that the team has picked, we've done so many amazing things. We've showed up. We did a whole ninja party for a bunch of children close to us that were special needs. And we had ninjas from the American Ninja Warrior come in because that was back in my days when I was there. And they came in and the kids were just blown away because we gave and then had the opportunity to bring them in and do a whole gym day with them. And we set up a whole obstacle course for them. And that, you talk about bringing a team together. I mean, I was in tears watching those kids run around. That wasn't even my idea. That was Becky's idea. That was her idea to do this. And her gift to them for all of our hard work throughout the year turned into something that'll be a lifelong friendship with this group.
Wow.
Right. But you just never know. The giving side was to give because we can. That's what God commands us to do, is to give. Right. And so we give, and whatever happens after that is not on us. Right. We did our part. So
that's really interesting. I've never thought about doing that. I love the idea of that. Wow.
Yeah. Just put a little bucket to the side and then let your people pick what's on their heart.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It makes them more powerful in a sense that they're working at your business has now just not just afforded them a lifestyle that they can live and provide for their family, but also provide for others. And maybe they would have been able to give $100 or $500, but now if they've got $4,000 to work with, or $2,000 or even $1,000, that makes them even more of an impact on someone else's life. And imagine how that feels in their soul.
Yeah. Well, it teaches them about giving.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It teaches them about all of that stuff. I really love that. I'm going to do that. That's
awesome. I'm excited for that, bro.
How big is your company? I don't know.
Yeah. So here at Master Plan, we're design managed. So we're not design build. I came from that world. We had up to 8 guys and all of that. It was 15 years ago. And I said, I'm curious. I said, I see the pool builders and I see the house builders working a design manage model where they basically manage the idea, the customer experience, all of those things. Right. But they don't have equipment. They don't have trucks. They don't have guys coming in, all that. I didn't want that anymore. I had all that. And I was like, every time it got to the end of the year, we had money in the account. And then I wasn't running debt free back then. I was running full debt. Right. So by the time winter came, we had tons of money in the account. It was great. I'm like, wow, this has been a good year. And then we had 3 months of winter. We didn't snowplow. So 3 months of winter and no income. And then by the time the tax man took his pound of flesh in the spring, we were back to zero again. And we did that for years, over and over and over again. So I never had the opportunity to think like this. To think in the giving section, because I could barely keep my own shit straight. I can barely keep my people taken care of. So when I had the opportunity to shift to the design manage model, I said, how can we do this? And I think you used it in the last episode. You talked about lean and mean, right? That was Charles Vander Koy said that in one of his seminars. And I sat down and listened, and he's like, we just want to run it lean and mean. I don't care what the economy is. You run it the same way, lean and mean, because some days you're going to have lots and some days you're going to be scratching for money. Right. And it's like, okay, lean and mean is the focus. How can we be as lean and mean as possible? So Master Plan, my current design manage practice where we build projects all over Eastern Pennsylvania, we're a 3-person team. Right. And then we're blessed to have incredible connections with other craftsmen that bring the ideas to life. But we manage the client's experience, the monies, the permits, all of that stuff. That's what we do. But I don't have 50 people running around here. It's 2 on the team, and I'm helping lead that part. Right. So it's a different model, but at the same time, it's afforded us the ability to sit back and be like, how can we give more? How can we be more? Because this is, again, I don't know how you keep doing this, Andy, but you're segueing us right into the next episode here, right? So how running a debt-free outdoor living business, how it impacts and transforms your customer experience. Like we've talked about team now, we've talked about sales before, but how now does that transfer into your customer experience? Because ultimately, if we had an entire army of prior customers that absolutely loved what we did with them, they felt something different. And they felt like, you know what, I really want to spread this and share this with my family, with my church, with my friends, with my coworkers. And next thing you know, you're getting tons of referral work. I mean, they're warm leads to start with. You really have to mess up if you don't end up getting those projects, right? Instead of going for the cold lead, Facebook or Google side of things, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can nurture a great customer experience and that is your primary focus, obviously over making money to keep the business profitable and running and keeping everybody and all the clocks running, right? If you can focus on how can I make the best customer experience known to man, specifically in anything they do around their house, what if that was our target? What if that was our mission as a company? And everybody was rooting for that mission, figuring out ways, systems, processes to make that be true. What would that look like? How would that change the way we focus? So that's what we do here at Master Plan. We aren't a massive company. We do tons of amazing projects each year, but I'm not focused on being the biggest. I'm focused on being the best.
Awesome.
Yeah. So very blessed for that. But brother, I'd love to, thank you for coming back on here again and talking about everything we talked about today and how running a business debt-free impacts your team, how you're able to give more and focus more on their compensation, their overall wellness, if you will, not just within the company, but if they need that week of, PTO because they've got something going on, you'd be like, yeah, bro, go do it. Come on back, right? And how much that blends or eventually leads to more loyalty because you're a human and you see that they have a need and you take care of it. You're not just like, you're a number, you're a machine, you're not here, you're fired. Like nobody wants that.
Right.
And then also how, hiring is different when you come in that way and say, you know what, do we really need somebody? Do we not? We can afford to pay them well because we know how much we're going to have. We know that we don't have a lot of debt. So I appreciate, all your insight on that. And so next week, guys, I've already alluded to is we're going to be talking about how running a debt-free outdoor living company transforms your customer experience. And I can't wait to see what Andy has to say about that. So Andy, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. See you next week.